speak, sing, or scribble our ideas on a piece of paper. Whether we dance, draw, or doodle. There's a platform out there where we can spread our ideas far and wide. And the best part is, we don't have to ask anybody for permission. Tonight, our guest is Ellie Stonebrink. Ellie is a Jill of all trades, a creator and an inventor.
A photographer, a coach, and advocate.
She's a writer, a wordsmith, and an editor.
A storyteller, a blogger, and speaker.
Ellie's a performer, a poet and rapper.
And I'm also a dancer, an actress, and an artist.
And a designer and a cheerleader. With all of those ways of expressing yourself, Ellie, welcome to the golden age of self-expression.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, I really appreciate you coming tonight. And the first thing I'd like to ask you is, how you're doing during these historical times. What are you doing to stay happy and healthy during the pandemic?
Oh, that's a really good question. I realized that I needed to take care of not only my physical health, but my mental and emotional, as well as spiritual health, actually. I mean, it's all encompassing, right? So primarily the way that I chose to take care of myself, which I've been doing since the first day that I started working from home, is primarily walking in nature. Primarily walking, including in nature, I should say. I also take a lot of photos along the way of flowers and nature and heart shapes. And on the way, I talk to people, pet dogs, and I watch and enjoy nature just outside my home, primarily birds and squirrels.
Mm-hmm. So you get physical exercise walking, but you get spiritual and mental exercise with the nature and talking with people along the way.
Yes, and I should say I use the poles so I can go really fast and I get a good workout.
Oh, well, that's good.
And
good.
And I live in a hilly area, so tell me I get a good workout.
That's a good workout. That's a good workout. Well, that's great, because there's a lot of people out there that stayed in the house, kind of locked themselves up, and sometimes you have a tough time when you do that. But if you can just get a little bit of interaction, a little outdoors, and a little fresh air, it can go a long ways. So this whole program right now that we're doing is about self-expression. And what does self-expression mean to you?
Well, thanks for asking, because it's actually one of my top values. And I see it as expressing myself or expressing yourself through creative ways, and preferably expressing yourself freely without inhibition or censorship. In other words, no self-judgment, right? Which is a hard thing, but I think it's really important to do. Because partly even our voice, which is a creative channel, it's one way we express ourselves creatively. And if it's blocked, we actually could have thyroid issues, which is what happened to me in my early 20s. Mm-hmm.
Right. So expressing yourself was a big deal for your healing and for your mental and spiritual health.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. You talk about being a lover of hearts. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. When I was in I'm trying to think, late teens or early 20s, I spontaneously collected hearts. And I didn't know that at the time until, years later, possibly. It's like, oh, I've got a collection of hearts. And I see hearts oftentimes that I think personally that it's maybe a message from God. It could be my twin spirit, my twin who passed away. It could be my guardian angel. Maybe she's my guardian angel. I have no idea. But I find them often, like almost daily, if I look, and I just find that sometimes they give me comfort, and sometimes I get an intuitive message when I see them. So yeah, it's basically like I sometimes consciously look for them, and sometimes I don't. I just walk, and then they oftentimes they just kind of come to me, for lack of a better word or way
Right,
of saying.
right. So do you look at hearts as a metaphor for something?
Yeah, I think it could be a metaphor for many things. To me, I think it's obviously love, but for me, it's like if you, I mean, this isn't perfect, but a perfect heart is two halves, like it's two twin halves, right? So I
Mhm.
think of myself and my twin spirits. So that's why I think there's a very strong heart connection for me. I don't know if that's a metaphor, but I'm pretty sure that there probably is somewhere. And maybe once we get off the call, they'll come to me, but because I love
Well,
metaphors.
if it comes to you, we can put in the show notes after the call.
Okay, or I'll write a poem about it.
Well, that'd be perfect. That another way of expressing yourself. You This leads to what I wanted to ask you next about how you also identify yourself as a intuitionist. And you I, I heard a lot of spirituality when you talked about your lover of hearts, and that probably plays a role in being an intuitionist. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think I would say so. I could share a story if I have time, a
Oh,
quick story
sure.
about that. Basically, I'll just say intuitionist is a term that I coined for myself because I'm extremely intuitive. And of course, I'm not always intuitive. And sometimes when I want to be, I'm not. But generally, I'm quite intuitive. And I noticed that my mom had this gift, but I didn't know it till years later. I was about, let's see, we moved to Canada when I was 6. So I'm going to guess about 8 years old. I was either in the cookie jar or the sugar bowl. I'd be downstairs. My mom would be upstairs. She would know exactly what I was in. And it's like, how did she know that? I want that, whatever she has. So it wasn't until years later that I realized that I had that in my late teens, and it's like, oh, cool. So yeah. And I have it with places of work. I have it with potential workplaces. I have it with potential homes, and I have it also with people. Other things too, but those are my 3 strong intuition channels, if you will.
Right. I don't know if it rubbed off on me, but my mom had that too. And she always
Mhm.
knew when I was into something that I shouldn't be into. So
Maybe we were too quiet.
maybe I was too quiet, or maybe it's how I behaved myself, or whatever. But my mom had that, and I think she still probably does.
Mhm.
So, do you have any other personal stories that describes how self-expression evolved in your personality?
Oh, for sure. Oh my goodness. When I was growing up, I was the 3rd girl and middle child. So at least myself, and I think my parents might have unconsciously, I don't know, compared myself with my older sisters or my younger brothers. And I never felt good enough, but I had this lack of self-confidence, and I would say self-inferiority. Um, so I was extremely shy. You could barely hear me. Softer than that, I would think. I think I mumbled a lot. And
Right.
I actually, I would say in my teens, one of my favorite expressions, don't ask me where it came from, was, and get this, I don't know. I think so. Maybe. Can you believe that? Like all in a row. I don't know where that came from, but that's how bad I was. And so it wasn't till, gosh, probably maybe when I started learning how to public speak, and I won a contest for the best impromptu speaker. It was just like a 1 or 2 minute speech. And I was so into it. I just loved it. And I think from then on, I started becoming more vocal and stuff, but also through different creative expressions as well.
Hmm. That's interesting. So basically what happened is you took steps to come out of your shell and to essentially defeat your shyness. Would that sound right?
Yeah, I think some of it was definitely conscious, and I think some of it maybe was not in terms of like just learning how to overcome fears and go out of my comfort zone and gain more self-confidence in myself. So I think it was a variety of things, of reasons.
Right. Now, I got to know you when you start doing Facebook Live videos. Tell me about that experience. Tell me about what it's like to take out your phone device, turn it on, and just start speaking live to whoever is out there watching.
Well, that's an interesting question, Steve, because, you know, I actually hated it at first. One, because I was about 30 pounds heavier. Probably this linen dress doesn't do it much justice, but anyway. And I didn't like the way I looked, and sometimes I wouldn't oftentimes I wouldn't wear makeup, and I would just come up with ideas. But my theme was actually about self-care, and I thought it was an important theme for these times, right? So I spoke about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, essentially. And I don't know exactly when, but as I did more and more, I started getting more comfortable, of course. And of course, by the end, it's like, oh, I could have done this again, right? But yeah, it was an interesting experience, and also learning technology too, because I'm not a technophobe, but I'm not technologically inclined. I have to learn by doing.
Right, right. You did one Facebook Live on eye care, or actually, I think you did a series on different exercises you could do for eye care. And I remember one time I did a Facebook Live, and you noticed that I went through like the whole 3 minutes without blinking.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right, right. And you made a suggestion that it would actually be healthy if once in a while, you know, not going overboard, but just once in a while consciously blink. And it would help me out. And I have tried to do that on these podcast episodes and different times when I'm on the camera. And it was good advice that you gave me.
Yeah, good for you. Well, it actually helps to lubricate the eyes, so it is good to do, and especially with computers and iPhones and stuff. So easy to get computer eye strain. So
yeah, another area I've always been fascinated with is art therapy, and I know you've had some experience with that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, except let me go back to, I was about age 21. I'm trying to think what time I started that job. I was about 21, 22, I think, when I was working for this company in Toronto. And I'm not sure how I came across it. I think it was somehow through the computer. And I found out there was such fascinating therapies. There wasn't only art therapy, there was like poetry therapy, there was bibliotherapy, there was dance therapy, there was drama therapy. There's all kinds of therapies. And I thought, I want to do that one day. It just fascinated me. And I think it was because I wasn't creative or, you know, expressing myself much. And these were ways to do that. Right. And yeah, so art therapy, I'm not great at it. But on the other hand, I studied expressive arts therapy years ago. And let me just tell you this, Steve. We not only did those, we also, and I wrote a list so I remember, because it's been a number of years. We worked with clay. We did clowning and mask making, which is really fascinating. It was amazing. We did fairy tales, believe it or not. We did creative movement. We did sound. We did poetry, psychodrama, visual arts, and like primarily painting. And I mean, it's not about, expressive arts therapy is not about the end result. It's actually about the process. So, and art therapy is like that as well. So, and art therapy could be painting, but it could be different, other different forms. I I'm thinking coloring. Gosh, I don't know because I'm not an art therapist, but I think it's primarily painting, but not
Right.
exclusively. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. I mean, it's just one more area you're studying and becoming more aware of.
Hmm.
Right, right. So that's good. Now, as far as the pandemic, have the living through the pandemic and what we've done for the last year and a half, have you had to adjust the way you express yourself or kind of change things?
Um, I would say somewhat because I love dancing.
Mhm.
And I used to do a lot of outdoor dancing, especially in the summer with live bands, which I really enjoyed. And and also these smoke-free and alcohol-free dances that I used to attend. And there was one form of dance in particular. It could be African or like trying to think of that genre of music. World music. It could be electronic music, especially
Right.
electronic music. I can get into a meditative state through dancing. It's almost like trance dancing. I think I haven't done trance dance, but I get into this zone and I can't explain it. Very often when I dance, I'll dance with my eyes closed or mostly closed. And if I'm with the public, I'm usually very aware of my surroundings intuitively. And also from having ice skated years ago, I've been very aware of who's around me and behind me. But what was the question? I just sidetracked myself. uh,
About making adjustments in your activities during the
right.
pandemic.
Okay. So sometimes when I'm in the public, I might occasionally, I might look down, but just kind of get a sense of who's around me. So, but I try to like, I don't know. It's to me, it's like it can be a spiritual experience. It's not always. Sometimes it's just like free. You might call it free flow or freestyle dancing.
Mhm.
It's not like ballroom, which I used to take, and I detest it. It's not me.
Right.
It's not who I am. It's not like structured. It's like free flow, like being in the zone, if you will. And maybe
Yeah.
that's the best way of saying it.
Right.
So,
Well,
and yeah, I've finished answering your questions. So, um, dancing, and I used to hula hoop, but because of my knee, I haven't. So for me, it's mainly through writing and speaking these days. Yeah,
through writing. Okay.
yeah.
Well, good, good. Now, suppose somebody came up to you, a friend of yours, and you had a conversation, and they didn't really either know how to express themselves or they were uncomfortable expressing themselves. What could you tell them on how to find something positive out of expressing themselves or out of learning to express themselves?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that it's really important for people to express themselves, and they can do that through a creative outlet that feels safe for them. But it helps, I think, to ground and center you. So it anchors you in your body and you're more present. Like, um, so I think it's important that people take the time for themselves to look for a creative avenue. And if they feel uncomfortable speaking, maybe they can do that through different modalities. Like I mentioned, there's so many, right? And you know, it also might be a good idea for them to push themselves occasionally, like get out of the comfort zone and step out of the boundary to learn and to grow, because that's really the only way that you can move forward, if you will, right? Otherwise, you're going to
Mhm.
stay stuck. If I didn't get out of my comfort zone, if I didn't push myself, I would still be very shy and probably mumble, and you couldn't hear what I said.
Right, right, right. And that comfort zone's a moving target, isn't it?
For sure.
You get
Yeah.
comfortable with something, or something's uncomfortable. You get comfortable doing it in one setting, and then all of a sudden, you have to try another setting to challenge yourself. And I think success comes from being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have to digest that. Say it
Right.
again.
Success comes from being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Right. So good, good. So what's next for you? What would you say is next on your bucket list?
Yeah. Um, I think I feel the messages that I sense that I'm getting is that I need to take some time out for myself. I've been so busy with so many different projects and whatnot that I feel like I need to get back to my center, to myself. And part of that is actually self-expression. It's through writing. I'm in the process of writing my memoir, and it's taking a lot more time than I would like it to. Um, I think that's really important. I'm open to coaching depending on the person, and I've done all kinds of coaching actually. But right now, I think primarily I need to take time out for me, and also I should say my health, because I put part of my food program a little bit to the side, and I notice I'm getting a little bit of my belly back again. Not too bad,
Oh,
you know. So, which takes time to food prep and all that stuff. So.
right.
Basically a lot of self-care, but I'm also open to coaching, and I can do a free consultation. I do intuitive coaching. I've also done editing. I'm a creative writer. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things I could probably do, but that would be kind of like the essence of it.
Right. Right. Well, that's terrific. I really appreciate you being on the show today. This has been a lot of fun. And I'd love for you to tell me more about your coaching and what you do professionally. And if somebody was interested, how they would contact you.
I have a LinkedIn page, which is probably the best way. In terms of my photos, I have them on Instagram if anybody's interested, but they have to type my first and last name together, because there's a Dutch relative with the same name as me in the Netherlands. So she's got a space, but I don't have a space in my name on Instagram. Facebook Messenger could be another way.
We can have people Facebook message you. We can have people send you a message on LinkedIn. Would that make sense too?
Yeah, LinkedIn might be best then. And then maybe just say that they found out about me through you, because if it's just Facebook and I don't know them, I won't necessarily accept them. There's also my blog, by the way, if people want to check that out, because I started that for a particular reason. I wrote for 5 years pretty consistently. I've won a lot of awards through that. And that is, I can share that with you too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
Yeah.
terrific. Terrific. So we'll get people in touch with you. We'll put the information in the show notes. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you too. I appreciate you having me or allowing me to be interviewed. Thank you.
All right. Terrific. And we also appreciate everyone that watched and listened. We do this every week. So next week, we'll have another episode of the Golden Age of Self-Expression. You can also access information on our website, which is productivediscourse.home.blog. If you go to that site, you'll find great information about what we do and how you can contact me if you'd like me to speak at your service club, community organization, or religious group. As I said, we'll be back next week, but in the meantime, please like, share, comment, subscribe so this message can go far and wide, and we'll find that shining needle of common ground in that haystack of fear.